Thanks everybody for coming back in. We want to keep things right on track here. My name is Tom Thompson and I am with Advanced Solar Products out of Flemington, New Jersey. I am the New England, New York representative, and I'm from New York, so I was in particular listening to Ron's comments about the fights between New York and New Jersey, and I kind of embody both now, being with Advanced Solar, of course. I'm also on the board of the New York Solar Energy Society, Director of Policy, and we're one of the organizers of this event. And we have actually, this is the final panel. This is the end of actually a three-series roundtable event that began back in March. Many of the people in this room were there at the beginning. And the idea is that we want to use this forum to generate the ideas and the concepts and the programs and the lessons learned and put them into, for lack of a better phrase, a roadmap. And you saw the 2012 roadmap when you came in yesterday or today, that Pradeep and Dr. Richard Perez have put together. So the idea is to take the information that we've generated over these past couple days, this week plus since March, and turn that into a living, breathing document that can be used to inform both public as well as elected officials' knowledge of what's going on. And what we're focusing this particular session, this particular panel, is on public outreach and public awareness. What can we do to increase the public's awareness of the benefits of solar? We have a really, not only a vital topic, but a vital panel of presenters here. Lori Riley from the City University of New York is actually going to speak last. Other than that, we're going to go in order with John Lacey from Eric Moore Associates, David Dunn, who you heard yesterday from Green Mountain Power. Patrick Clooney is not here, but we have Elizabeth Kennedy, so we're going to do fine with the Mass Clean Energy Center. Susan Moyer from NYSERDA, and Jody Smits-Anderson from the New York State chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council, but also DASNY, which is the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York. And I believe, in the way that the military is the largest consumer in America, DASNY is the largest consumer of goods in New York State, as I understand. And these are just some of the topic areas that we want to be focusing on. My personal favorite is the perception shift, the old idea of perception is reality, and specifically the environmental to the profitable. And in preparing for this, Pradeep in particular asked me to make everybody aware that the public awareness panel is not the public policy panel. Of course, there's intersections between public awareness and public policy, but we're trying to focus on, with this panel, is to seed and recreate ideas and strategies and programs that can be used to achieve this level of public awareness, to boost it up above the 60% level, because everything that we've talked about the last couple of days, what we know is that we need the public to support what we're trying to do here. We're not going to get our policy goals, our industry goals, if we don't have public support behind this. So each of our panelists is going to take just a few minutes to give an opening statement about their experience and involvement, experience in the industry and involvement in public awareness efforts, and then we're going to open this to the room here. Why are the benefits of PV so unknown by the public, and what can we do to try to foster them? So using Charles Wesner's strategy from yesterday, in conclusion, when Pradeep was asking me about this panel, one of the things that struck me was that public awareness is most dramatically improved when there's been some type of a dramatic or quantum event, if you will. And some people call them teachable moments. There's this concept of a gaffe, which has been out in the media lately. It's when a politician actually accidentally tells the truth. And this is a actual quote. He's now the mayor of Chicago, but at the time he was in the Obama administration. You never want to let a serious crisis go to waste. That statement was viewed as a gaffe at the time, but in reality, it's only when we face some type of a crisis moment that people's attention gets focused on the issue at hand. Governor Cuomo actually used this image. I pulled this from his State of the State address to make the public aware that New York State's infrastructure is in such dramatic need of repair. that some of the things that we're living with today were done when Jackie Robinson was playing baseball in Brooklyn. Okay, that's how old some of our infrastructure is in New York State. And for me, this has some personal element to it that is highlighted by the fact that, you know, Jackie Robinson didn't just play baseball. He made everybody in this country understand that, you know, we're all God's children, if you will. Apparently, we're reporting to Richard, who had God talking to him in the panel earlier today. But he not only played baseball, and this is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, Jackie Robinson playing baseball allowed him to march across the bridge. Okay, Jackie Robinson was with him on those marches. The public perception of Jackie Robinson as a human being is what then took us to the next level as far as civil rights in America goes. I had the unique opportunity, interestingly enough, through a public-private partnership with Governor Pataki, as well as private industry, to go to Africa and to work with Jackie's son, David, on a solar-powered water purification. And just another interesting sidelight of all this, the panels that were originally on the Citibank building, many people don't know this, in the late 70s, early 80s, Citibank actually put some Arco solar modules on the building. Dr. Perez, who's in the back of the room, got a phone call one day because Citibank was going to get rid of those panels, and could he use them? He actually went up there and saw them in place, and took them down, and used them for 15 years, at which time he donated them to NSE, the Northeast Sustainable Energy Association, where I was working and he was on the board. NSE used them for a few years, and then we eventually sent them over to Africa. And I just spoke to David earlier this month. Those panels are still in place. They're still being used. For the solar nerds in the crowd, these are 35-cell circular cell modules. They're now some 30, 35 years old, and they're still generating power over there. So for me, I have some quick examples of public awareness campaigns that I've been involved with. One of them actually occurred right in this facility 5 years ago when we started to develop the first solar roadmap for New York State. Major accomplishments in that, although somewhat subtle. But key thing, we got new net metering legislation in New York State. It's still in the process of being repaired and improved. We got expanded incentives. The permitting and soft cost issues got raised up. We articulated a goal of 2,000 megawatts by 2020 in New York State. That goal is still part of the lexicon of New York State's solar policies. And you know, I think that we had LIPA folks involved, and we heavily focused on the German feed-in tariff at the time. So there's at least some connection to the LIPA feed-in tariff program. This is an example of success in public awareness raising. Another activity that I got involved with when I worked at the Public Service Commission in New York when the last Cuomo was governor, and ended up at NSE, where I was involved with this event, the American Tour de Sol, which was a Monte Carlo road rally type event that intentionally focused on hybrid electric transportation. Now, this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, moved away from solar cars as impractical. We're trying to mainstream technology. The big hurdle was guess what? There's no range with EVs, where we have range fatigue. The Selectria car was actually able to run over 200 miles on a single charge. James Warden, who was the CEO of Selectria, the electric car company at the time, started out in this event as a high schooler, building solar electric cars, went through MIT, started his solar car business, sold that to the Koreans, and now he has an inverter company. What does success look like? Well, for us, the event started in the late 80s. By the early 90s, we had Honda on board. We had General Motors, Ford, Chrysler. So what does it look like? It looks like, you know, you can't do this event anymore because it's not an event. People are actually doing it every single day with their Priuses and their Honda Insights. And this was going to be the last slide on this part of this example, but walking in here this morning, this is right outside the building. The Cokes that we just had for lunch were delivered on a hybrid electric truck. So this is what success in public awareness actually can look like. NSE is having a conference next March, the Building Energy Conference. It's a great event. This is part of the role of not-for-profits and communities in the public awareness campaign. I also point out my great experience that I've had working with advanced solar products over the last few months. I've actually known Lyle Rawlings, and I know many people in the room know Lyle, since I was started at NSE. I recently started working with them, and it's absolute joy. They're a heavyweight bunch of solar, I'll say it, we're solar nerds, okay? This project is a 14.1 megawatt installation. It's the largest privately owned net metered installation in the Western Hemisphere. We stopped looking at the edge of the Western Hemisphere. It's probably the largest in the world simply because we're the only market, one of the only markets that focuses on net metering. But this system was the result of years of effort at raising public awareness about the role of solar in our society, in our grid. The SREC bill that came out, the laws that came out, we had that discussion. It wasn't exactly what Lyle was after, but nevertheless, public awareness resulted in the passage of the legislation that resulted in this installation. In particular, one noteworthy thing about